I like to talk, but
Yeah.
I've been talking for 9 hours.
Actually, I feel bad. He doesn't really talk that much. Do you feel like you've been talking?
No, I definitely don't feel like I've
Well,
been. Well,
then-
I wasn't there for any of this.
How about I
so-
shut up and let you talk?
No, I
Oh,
just
no.
honestly, it's like a refresher to me because I wasn't there for any of this.
I feel like
can we
you
just-
are welcome, by the way, to the podcast.
Hey guys, welcome
everyone.
back. We will get to some episode sometime soon.
Yeah.
Honestly,
But I want to stick with this. Like, I know he's been quiet. And if anyone's listening and they're like, what the fuck?
no, I've just been watching this honestly through the lens of a guest almost because I wasn't there for any of the first season.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's almost a refresher course, watching this with y'all. I'm like almost like a fan. I get to watch the show
Well,
with the people in it.
Before you came on the show, were we airing yet?
No, I don't think
Okay,
He
y'all
never
were-
saw it.
Ah,
I
okay,
don't think
so
y'all were
you
even
weren't like a
airing.
fan of the show at that time. You
I don't
didn't
think
know
it
the
was
show.
on yet. I
Got
believe I know I would have watched at least a couple episodes before my audition if it was on.
Right, exactly.
But no, I don't think it was on yet.
you like distinctly remember at 8, right? You were 8, 8.5?
Well, I definitely remember I know I would have at least watched an episode before because I always do. You get the cadence of the show and
Yeah.
'cause
Super
each show
pro.
really has like its own rhythm to it.
Yeah.
Its own
of
voice.
course. Of course.
It's really interesting to me because I just realized I wonder how many people at 8 years old have something that they can look back on and remember what life was like. Like there was no camera in my life capturing my development at 8 years old, or like
Me neither.
I wasn't working to go back and watch these episodes to see what I was like.
It's a phenomenon that
Like,
only
it's a
very few
wild
people.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah. Only
Otherwise,
child
it's
actors.
It's just a period of time in your life that you go through, and
Right.
the only thing I probably remember at all at that age is that like 2:30 or 3:30 in the afternoon was like took a long time to get to 2:30 or 3:30 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I would be going home from school, right? It's
Yeah.
like, oh my God, that was a long day.
I have a 6-year-old now, and so I got my union card, but for theater at 6.5, something like that. And so I look at her and I'm like, that's not happening
Oh.
So
for my
you're not going to
family.
do any entertainment for your kids. Like kids are not going to be involved in entertainment.
In the immediate, no. And
Yeah.
if that were to become an interest, look, I think I've always said this on my other podcast, having a relationship with the arts is so wonderful.
Absolutely.
I mean, acting
Playful.
is what play.
Creativity.
Playful.
I
be
really
creative, have
appreciate
fun.
your relationship to acting because it's never held you back. But it also comes from you. I'm now realizing this about Nick with the way that he's talked about himself on set and his experiences in the business, that he's never not been himself. And if if people agreed with that or not, it didn't matter. He knew who he was. Walking in and out of a set made no difference. That's so valuable.
Yeah, I mean,
Like-
I definitely don't know if I knew who I was. I'm still trying to figure out who I am. It's a constantly evolving process. But
But even in
but-
saying
but I-
that,
but
you
I- but I
bastard, you're proving my
appreciate- no,
point.
But it was my choice.
It was your
It was
choice.
always my choice.
And it's not your child's choice
Yeah.
necessarily, okay?
Absolutely.
But necessarily. Now,
Well-
there are those kids that are just so talented. We don't need to get into all of the nitty gritty, but like you said that like doing Even Stevens brought you structure to your life.
Yeah,
So
it
it's
totally
helpful.
brought me structure. I remember one of the most vivid memories is getting the white script sent to my home, and I knew the next week I would be there and I wouldn't be in school, so it would be like a way for me to almost play hooky
Mm-hmm.
because then I get to hang out with my friends and I get to do what I like and not have to sit in a classroom for 8 hours. Or
I don't know
whatever.
if people realize that there's many different colors of scripts that you get.
Oh yeah,
Each
You get the-
episode, right? There's the white one that comes in the mail
We
that
get-
they would FedEx you, and then you'd bring that white one you would bring to the cast reading, which I guess we would have every week.
What came first though, the blue or the pink one?
The white one.
it was the
then-
white
The
one,
white,
right?
and
Yeah.
th- and then was it blue or
I
pink?
think
The
blue.
pink.
Blue.
Oh, I think pink
I
was
thought
final,
blue.
right?
Yeah,
Or
I think
yellow
blue
or
and then
something
red,
like that,
like red, pink, right? Rose or whatever.
Mhm.
I think that I remember kind of it, and then there was like yellow if it was like
I
an
never
extra one or
understood
something.
which one was what.
I'm sure David Grace
never learned
remembers.
that.
We should
Oh, yeah.
ask him.
Gotta ask him.
He probably was the reason that
you guys-
those colors were that way.
Do you still have any of the scripts?
I have a lot of them.
I have boxes of almost every episode. Yeah.
You're like
actually
even
that-
Steven's historian.
Yeah, at
you
one
got to
point-
bring them for the
actually,
podcast.
I almost brought the poster in. Do you know I have the poster, the first poster that we did of you and Shia?
Bring it. We'll store it here. We'll put it on the set.
I'll never
and-
forget seeing that for the first time on a bus going by. I'm like,
Yes.
that's my show, man, right there. That's my show.
Yes.
That was cool.
Where were you?
Oh,
What was that
gosh.
like? What was that experience like for you? Because I feel like everybody has like a very unique experience.
I mean, I've always felt pretty grounded and humbled by the whole thing. My parents are just, I don't know, man, OG mom and dad. They hardworking, raised 9 kids. When I talk about making choices, like when I decided to do this, 2 things my parents said to me. One, you can't do it till you're old enough to sign your own contract.
Yep.
So I couldn't do anything until I turned 18. And then once I did it, my dad said, I don't care what you do, as long as you do whatever you do, you give it all you got. That was his attitude towards it. And in those early days, I definitely was like, I'm in. I'm going to, like, I was going to classes 3 days a week. I lived it. I was having fun with it. It was great. But when I booked a gig, it wasn't like I needed, it wasn't me dying for attention, and that seeing a billboard was like my moment to kind of like, I don't know,
Yeah,
to like,
yeah, it was the milestone.
yeah, exactly. It was,
Yeah.
No, great moment,
Mhm.
but more in the sense of like, fuck yeah, I'm doing something that people are going to see.
Mhm.
Like I'm doing something that's actually going to, like, it's a real job now. It's not just this pipe dream that you're chasing, you know?
Okay. So it was like a step in the right direction
Yeah,
rather than like a
cool.
giant
But
leap
again,
into your
it's like we talked about before. I didn't go buy a fancy car. Like my first car I ever even bought that wasn't a secondhand car, which still today I always buy secondhand cars. But the first one I ever bought that wasn't secondhand was a Toyota 4Runner.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I lived on the boat for almost the entire first season. You know,
I think that was
paying
really good for
$750
you.
Paying $750 a month to be on to have oceanfront property.
Dude, like
Yeah.
how much that would be now in
Yeah,
Marina
nowadays-
Del Rey.
So,
like,
so the
Nowadays,
best
now they
thing
have-
was, I guess, out of all of that was being able to take care of myself.
Mhm.
That was the best thing. 'Cause
How
up-
humbling is
yeah,
that?
up until
Yeah.
that point, I was taking care of myself, but I was also like,
Barely
barely
getting by.
Barely. I was like,
Mhm.
waiting tables, bussing tables.
Oh yeah, where'd you wait?
yeah.
Where were you waiting?
So in the marina, I mean, I worked at a few places.
Yeah.
But, I worked at Edie's Diner
oh yeah,
in Marina Del Rey.
Sure.
Remember that spot,
Sure.
little 50s diner?
Yes, I do.
And that was the last waiting job I ever had. And then I booked a film with Mario Lopez and Jamie Presley, and that was like my first like
Mario
film.
fucking
Oh god,
Lopez.
it was a terrible
Did
film.
I ever tell you
Terrible.
I worked at a marina for about maybe 3-4 months?
You've had a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
A lot of jobs.
I
in
worked
fact.
at this marina pretty much doing everything.
Yeah.
I did peskeeping, I did groundskeeping, I worked the front office, I helped the boats come in.
Dude, I did
tied- tied 'em up.
dog washing in Venice Beach
Oh, really?
on Abbot Kinney. Yeah, I was wash dogs. Funny story about that. One day the owner was out of town, and I was there. I was like, she trusted me enough to take care and run the shop, but no grooming was allowed while she was gone. Someone brought in their dog and was adamant about grooming that dog.
Oh, boy, how did that go?
Not good.
Oh no.
Not good.
No, dude.
I tried trimming that dog, and I fucked that thing up so bad.
No.
I don't know what I was thinking.
What did she say? What was
I
on
can't
her face?
recall. I can't recall the aftermath. All I remember was that I stopped like halfway through, and I'm like, I can't keep doing this. This is not going
But you
well.
probably said, "I'm sorry, I can't do it." For starters.
Yeah, I definitely did tell her that it
Was
like
Abbot Kinney bougie back then? It was
no.
not.
It was like this little. It was like right there on the corner of Venice and Abbot Kinney.
Yeah.
And I forget the name of the gal that owned it. She was awesome. She was like a Harley rider.
Yeah.
And we had a great rapport. And it was just cool. It was like I love dogs. I loved animals. So
You
it
do
was-
love dogs.
Yeah,
He's
it
a
was-
big dog.
it was chill, and she kind of like gave me the keys to the shop and would take off out of town. I think she went to Sturgis. Oh, breaking shit.
Sturgis, South Dakota, for the
Yeah.
motorcycle
The
rally.
love rally.
Yeah,
Didn't
yeah.
Shia go to that with his dad one time? He did. I
Oh,
know he
probably,
did.
yeah.
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah,
he
she
did.
took off to Sturgis and gave me the keys to the place, and now suddenly I had a dog I had to shave, and did not go well. But-
Shave. Oh my god.
Well,
I still
it wasn't
remember
a
your
shave.
dog.
That's probably what I did was shaving.
Yeah,
I
you were
I
like,
know how to
oh,
groom a dog.
I think I remember your dog halfway, like barely. You had
Capone?
Yeah, Capone.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Capone.
His
Do you know
dog
Capone?
was
He,
cute.
he lived his last days with us on set.
Yeah.
I'll never forget that. Do you remember when we were filming out in Malibu? We were filming the Even Stevens movie.
Really? Oh,
Uh-huh.
the Arboretum?
No, in Malibu.
Yeah.
We were on the beach. It was like that cliff moment.
Oh, Point Doom.
Yeah. Who
It was at night though.
who was falling on the cliff?
Oh, I know what you're talking
That
about.
wasn't at night.
No. It was something that we didn't shoot in
In
Hawaii,
Hawaii.
and it was a stunt, and it was him falling back because the helicopter had to come up.
That's
and
right.
what's his name? That comedian.
Oh
from
gosh.
Full House.
Tim Meadows.
Tim Meadows.
Meadows.
Tim Meadows.
No, Tim
No.
Meadows was
Oh, it
with
was
us
Coulier,
in Hawaii.
Dave.
Coulier was
Yeah.
not going to come to
Oh.
Hawaii because we couldn't afford him.
Oh,
Coulier popped up on that. Yeah, I know
love
exactly
Tim
what you're
Meadows.
talking
Tim
about.
Meadows was dope.
He
So,
was very cool.
We were on location in Malibu, and I at that time Capone was sick. He had bone cancer, and so I had him on. I was able to bring him on set with us for this was like the very end of our show.
Yeah.
So he was there every day with me on set, and he had this massive tumor on his hand that he would like try to chew, and so I kept trying to wrap the arm to keep him from chewing on it. And during one of our filming, I go into my trailer, and he had chewed through all of his bandages and like literally started chewing through his arm.
Oh god.
And it was everywhere, and
The blood?
blood everywhere.
Oh my
and Donna
God.
Pascal had her vet in Malibu, and she said, "Do you want to let me call my vet?" I'm like, "Yes, please." And her vet is still my vet today, Dr. Lisa Newell out of Malibu Coast Animal Hospital. She was the bomb, and she came down.
She came to set?
She came to set with one of her assistants, gave him some medication, wrapped his arm, and I had been to several doctors at that time. That was like he wasn't going to survive this. There was like a 20% chance he would survive. It required cutting off his arm. I didn't know if I really wanted to go through all that.
Yeah.
Anyway, she said the one thing that I needed a doctor to say was that I understand what you're going through. Don't worry, he'll let you know. That was it. Like he'll let you know when it's time to let him go. And so yeah, he was with me for like another month. Actually,
Okay.
I put him down right before we went to Hawaii because we hadn't gone to Hawaii yet.
Oh, we did that first?
We hadn't gone to Hawaii yet.
Okay.
Because we were going to be in Hawaii for like a couple
And you
of
put him
weeks.
down? Dude,
Had
I
to,
didn't know
had to.
any of this.
Yeah, it was so bad at that
Oh,
point.
Nick,
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
yeah, no,
I was
it's
so up my
crazy.
own ass. I had
But
no
we
idea.
had so many these
were,
moments
you know?
together.
Dude,
It's
you
wild.
just had a really hard, yeah.
No, it wasn't hard. It's just it's like but we
It's life.
Yeah, it's life.
It's
but
life.
but those
It's
are
life,
those
but
are those moments that are
it's still
tied to the
tough.
show for me. That was like it was
Milestone
yeah.
around your life.
It was our home. It was our home in a lot of ways. But
Yeah, because in some ways you get to forget about it and go to something that's comfortable, right? And get to something that you remember. Shit, I guess we've been I love that we can talk freely and then come back to the show, right? So we had a show episode to talk about today.
which is
You
I think
bet.
our cue to
Right?
get back
I have
to
to help. I have
it's all
to.
about Yvette. It's
Yeah.
not about us. It's not about Capone.
about
It's all
Capone.
about Yvette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Yvette was this like girl that came in. Oh, remember when I talked about in our last episode? I talked about that Ren's friend
Had a hard time making friends.
She really did.
She
I mean,
really
are we
did.
surprised?
No,
it is.
No,
yeah.
this
I did have a hard
Shia
time.
had a whole flock of friends
From day one.
He
he had his ride or dies.
You just were like burning through friends
I was
left
burning
and
through friends.
right.
Where did these girls go? I mean,
Yeah.
like they were supposedly in the zeitgeist of whatever the world was of Even Stevens, but no, these girls were recycled, reused, thrown away. So this one though was older. She was older, and I know that. Sorry to say, but like, I mean, she was in her 30s. I remember her being.
She was not in her 30s.
I will Google this actress right now.
Okay, you
and she's
Google
probably in
that.
her 60s right now.
Oh
I'm
my
curious.
God!
I'm telling
Okay.
you right
Listen,
now. I'm
first
doing
of all,
it.
that
That's it. I'm
math
doing
doesn't
it.
make
Pull
any
up
sense at
IMDb.
all.
I'm doing
Let's
it.
see
If she was in her 30s, we only did this 20 years ago. She's
Dude,
not in her 60s.
I'm telling you all about Yvette. I'm Googling myself
You
right
guys,
now.
Never
she's
Google
not
There it
gonna be
is.
right about this.
No, I hope I am, dude. If I'm not, what do we do? If I'm not right about
Nothing.
something, what do we do?
It doesn't make
Just
a podcast.
just knowing that you're wrong is enough.
Oh,
Just knowing that you're wrong. So anyway,
Oh,
something
no.
about Yvette. I wasn't really in this
Carrie,
episode.
go ahead, carry it.
but
carry it.
Christy has a friend. I forget her name in the show, and you have to put
Charlotte.
on,
Her name's Charlotte.
You guys are putting on the big dance, right?
An 80s themed
An 80s
dance.
themed dance.
Awesome 80s.
Yvette pops on the scene. She's best friends with Charlotte,
Mhm.
and Christy feels shunned, and because all her ideas suck, and Yvette's ideas are great, even though they're the same idea.
And you have one of the most classic fits ever of any Disney
Ooh.
Channel teenager ever with the 80s. It was like a turquoise turtleneck, I remember. And then you had like this turquoise like hairband.
Where is this? Are you sure that's not from the other one that we just talked about?
Oh, I don't know. 5 and 6 are blending together
Oh
now.
my God.
But I really think it was one of those. And
Gotcha.
the look was just so classic.
Well,
Okay, it was. There was many
this
classic
was really
looks.
an episode for, I think that was focused a lot on you
Mhm.
and your relationship with Donna.
It did. It definitely had the mother-daughter element introduced there because
Yeah.
Donna is such a powerhouse. She's so iconic, and she really, I don't want to say lowered herself, but she gave us herself.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And I think she was in love with us.
Well,
I think she was in
did-
love with being that person for this
Yeah.
production.
Yeah, no,
That's what I
She
felt.
did some major films and worked with a lot of big players. So that for sure, I get what you're saying. Like in some way, this was like a little step down, but at the same time, I think that it gave her like an opportunity to do some comedy and play in a way that she probably hadn't
In
for
years.
a long time.
Well, because
Yeah.
she was obviously everyone knew Donna from Saturday Night Fever if they were the parents watching this, right?
Yeah.
But she was also Angie in her own show, Angie,
Yeah.
which was kind of a spin-off, I think, of that, where she was this like fiery redhead from New York.
Mm-hmm.
And so she was like, I think like the second coming of I Love Lucy, kind of. She was like,
Oh, she so could have. Yeah, she
oh,
really
she's
was.
so fucking funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, she was big into acting here at the Beverly Hills Playhouse, which was part of the reason I ended up at Beverly Hills Playhouse. It's like this
Oh, wow.
big, it was Milton Katselis. It
I
was
didn't know
this
you did
direct.
that.
Oh yeah.
How was that?
It was amazing for a time, but there was other things that were drawbacks to being, in your 20s in an acting class, right? Like,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm still trying to find this. Her name was Shannon Marshall. She was really sweet. And I know, I can't find how old she was, but it doesn't matter.
Just accept that you're
Her name was
wrong.
Shannon Marshall. And
You know
shit
what? I
matters.
bet you she found the age and just did not want.
No,
it.
I can't. I'm not that good. I'm not that good at stalking. I'm good, but I'm not that good. But look, I went on a surf trip with this girl because, we had 2 episodes with her and we were really trying to become friendly with each other. And I can tell that I liked her. Like, I knew she was older, but my character was very mature. Like, she acted this way. Like, and then what was fun to see about Ren was how she was so fucking wrong all the time about herself. Like, she thought she knew so much. And then it
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
you pull the rug out from under her and watch her squirm. And like,
yeah.
after a while, that did get a little like, I don't know, redundant for me to play as an actor.
Sure.
Because I think,
You're going through the same experience, the same life experience over again. You're learning the same lesson
yeah,
constantly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get that. You kind of get tired of playing that beat.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yeah.
But so this girl,
But
they
you
were
did it
trying
great.
out.
You squirm really good.
I know,
You squirm
trust
really
me.
good.
I think so. Basically, this girl was auditioning to be like a regular on the show as my best friend, and we really went for it. And then this other really cute girl comes in and is like, they're besties. And I remember actually working on trying to create a handshake. There's like a handshake.
Yeah.
Oh, I
like the
remember it in this
Yeah.
episode. They
Yeah.
kind of halfway do it.
I
have like a
halfway
little-
do it, and
They
then
have a
they
little
do it
hip
right.
bump. They have a little hip bump
Yeah, of
handshake
course.
that Chrissy felt
Me,
like.
Skinny Minnie, doesn't have the booty to like do the hip bump with Charlotte. But I really remember this episode for the makeup towards the end of it because Karen, we should talk about
Karen Tool.
Guys, if you grow up on set as a female, on a set where you have to be like all the trendiest makeup and the trendiest hair. And I don't mean like beautiful makeup, beautiful hair. I mean trendy,
Yeah.
which means that you have to be changing your hairstyles and your makeup styles like all the time. I had different eyeshadows and I had all these different like cheap outfits that they couldn't afford real outfits like from nice places. So it was always Forever 21 and they were super stretchy and super tight and like they always like rode up my body and weird and they were not comfortable to have 10 hours a day or something. Like I think when you're 16 it's 10 hours. It's 8 hours under 16.
You're 16.
After 16 I think
I
it's
don't
10.
remember anymore at all. Even
I think it's 10 and then at 18, which I turned 18, so I remember kind of the shift
Yeah.
from 10 to like 12 hours or something.
I just
or
remember you
plus
not having to
overtime.
do school, and you guys were like,
yeah,
yes.
that's it. That was the only
No more.
thing I remember is not having to
Yeah,
do the
because
3
having
hours
was
of
it
school.
was it 3 or 4 hours of
Three.
school? Yeah, so
Three,
you guys
yeah.
had to do 3 or 4 hours. Yeah, for 3
Well,
hours of school.
I actually
Saturday.
hate studio teachers.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I hated our studio teacher, Nancy. I didn't hate her to the point of getting her fired or anything. She never did anything wrong to me
Yeah.
that way. I just really didn't like the way she was approaching education. And I thought
Yeah.
she was really kind of, she tried, but I thought she had a short temper. And she kind of reminded me of my mom.
I think it's
Well,
a bit
so
of,
I didn't like
you know,
her.
there's a bit of that in all of education. You know, people that are just there or maybe a little bit too long, there for the paycheck.
Well, you know what?
Maybe a little
I
hard to
think
get fired in
what's-
the teaching department anymore.
Yeah, what's really challenging about that though is if you're going to regular school, you have 4 or 5 or 6 different teachers that you have to see throughout a day. So you have an opportunity to find the one that you really like to build that relationship with, you know? And in this case, you don't have that. You have one person that you have to work with for 3 hours. And if you don't like them,
Forever.
Too
Like there's no
bad.
end in sight.
too
with that
bad.
person.
You're
Yeah.
stuck with that person. And it's
Yeah.
really hard to learn if you don't like who you're learning from. I mean,
Totally.
that's like why teachers are so important and
know.
and so underpaid right now.
I know. They're all leaving.
No,
There's-
man.
It's
You-
like a
who-
really big problem.
Who would want
Yeah.
to teach in that environment right now? It's absolutely insane. But
I
like,
know.
I was blessed. Like one of my teachers from high school is still my mentor today. He would never claim that title, but I'll give him that title. He's a very close friend and mentor from high school. When you have an opportunity to find those people, they become so valuable in your life because you want to learn because of them.
Mhm.
And if you're on set with someone and you don't like who you're stuck with for 3 hours a day, I don't know how you can even learn.
So basically, what I ended up doing was, you know, my family being very like competitive East Coast family, education was always super big. I think you guys know this about me, right? Like, if there's anything that you knew about me back then, was like I was getting like my education was really
I
important.
do remember that because you left for NYU too, didn't you?
Columbia.
Columbia.
I did get in
Yeah.
Columbia, but I think that the education part, what happened was, guys. So when Kim Possible started for me, which was probably around the time you were on, like halfway through or so, I would take TAs from UCLA and I would have them educate me every day after my 10 hours.
Wow.
And I would have every day would be a different subject. So I had like virtually no social life, but
Wow.
you know, I was very much on that single track like Ren was. So I would have a different TA. I think this was more towards my senior year. I don't know if this was something that I did until I was really starting to get into my senior year, but I would have a TA teach me instead of a tutor, or sorry, instead of a studio teacher, I had tutors that I think I paid for,
Yeah.
that I paid out of pocket for. So
Right.
I electively was like, no, maybe they gave me some sort of a stipend towards that.
Mm.
But for the most part, I think it was something I was like, if you're going to do this out of work, like this is your choice kind of thing.
I think that would be a better way of doing it too. I mean, I'm sure that
It's a
hard.
huge commitment.
It's hard to make the budget work, but I mean,
Yeah.
it'd be way better if productions gave you the choice in who can teach you.
Yeah.
Because as long as you're passing the tests or doing whatever's required of you, it's better for you to have a relationship with that person.
Totally. I think
Yeah.
I mean, there's apps for everything. Why can't there be apps for studio teachers that, you know, their attitudes would fit?
That's probably the new thing nowadays. You know, I don't know though. I do feel like there is a good thing about having to learn to relate to and deal with different personality types because
Definitely.
that's life.
That poor Nancy, man.
100%.
Shia.
But when you only have one option,
Yeah.
Oh my
you're very limited on what.
Very
Gotta figure out
limited.
how
Yeah.
to make it work.
Wait, so what grade did you actually go to school?
Yeah, I went to a private.
I can't say that
private,
right.
private school.
But-
private
but-
school that would allow you to.
What was the last grade you went to normal school at?
First?
Junior in high school? I was only homeschooled my senior year.
Wait, so you were in high school when you
Yeah,
started the
yeah, I was
show?
doing-
No,
I
you
was-
were 8 years
You were
old.
8.
Oh, I was. Yes, that was my. Obviously elementary.
So
school.
you had but you didn't do regular elementary school.
No, it was a private school because public school they don't allow you to be gone for 5 days a week because they get paid
right
every day your butt's
right
in the seat.
right. So you were
So-
still doing regular school
And they
while
were
you're on the show.
faxing you your
Yeah, they
curriculum.
just a private school. You know,
got
Were
Got
you in
it.
every episode?
no, I was in
Okay.
maybe every other episode.
Oh,
right?
okay.
So that's
So you didn't
why-
have to leave school.
So it didn't have to leave the private
Got
school, so they didn't mind as long as they're still getting their paycheck. But at the same time, a public school isn't going to take you because you're gone too much,
Yeah.
and they don't get as much money as a normal student who's there, 24/7.
Yeah, tardiness is
So
a
you
big
didn't
deal.
do high
Yeah.
school at all.
Well, my situation was really unique. I went to the professional children's school in New York from the time I was in 6th grade, way before even Stevens. And so my freshman year, I tried to go to a Catholic school in Connecticut, where I was from, but I ended up getting Parade, which was a Broadway show at the time. So I commuted anyway right after school. So I ended up back at this professional children's school because I just kept working. And then that school had Macaulay Culkin, Scarlett Johansson was in my class in high school. Like lots of very prominent working people, but a lot of them were, I think, more film or the arts, like Juilliard. They were dancers, they were musicians that were focused in New York. I was one of the few that was like, hey, fax me my facts, guys, facts. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
They faxed me my curriculum. I don't even think we had email in a way that was like, okay, let me get you your syllabus. Like it was like, this is your syllabus to look at. And then your studio teacher will administer the syllabus essentially. And so that's how generally that works is they're just administrators.
Mhm.
And if you have a concept that you don't understand, at a certain point, you don't really need them to explain certain things to you. But in elementary school, it actually is really important that they have somebody to like really guide you for those 3 hours a day. Cause that's kind of like daycare.
Pretty much.
You know, like that is,
But that's it.
Good
Yeah,
daycare.
and that also poses, the question: why do people look up to celebrities, especially child actors? These kids were, in school for 3 hours a day. They're
Right.
not even the full 8, right? So why are
Right.
we idolizing these people?
Well, it's easy
You know?
because they're in front of us,
Yes.
and they're
Exactly.
and I mean, and it's you
can't
know,
look away.
You're not seeing some kid in Boise, Idaho right now who's going to high school. You
Yeah.
don't know who that person is.
Right.
But I mean, look at influencers. Why idolize any of this shit?
I know
But
that's a new one.
It's the
nowadays.
it's very similar.
It's constantly in your face,
Yeah.
and you're seeing a lifestyle that you think you want. And it's actually going to talk about the kid actor thing. A lot of kids that pursue this business are just normal kids that I think have the same desire to get attention and be seen. They don't even fully understand what it means.
How
to
could
be
they
an
possibly
actor. You
understand
can't.
the implications that would happen from?
So like talking about the choices, like earlier, it's like
Or future
it was my
Well,
it was
yeah.
very much my choice, right? There was no one pushing me into it or guiding me into it. I kind of like jumped in on my own. I was curious, right?
Yeah,
and
you were of age to
for sure to
yeah.
do that.
Yeah,
but when
for
you're a
sure.
kid, you're like, yeah, I want to be an actor.
And
Yeah.
and their
I
thought
wanna be-
process is, I
you
don't get
just-
to go to school.
my
like,
God.
yeah.
Don't get to go to school.
The thing I hate more than anything is like, I want to be a model. Oh God, please don't. Please don't.
You get hammered
Please
up a
don't.
bit,
No,
it's-
just don't. But anyway, they don't know exactly what it is. But once you get into it, now there's like this obligation to deliver, and the pressure of being if you're actually a working, actor or whatever it is, there's a lot of pressure involved. There's a lot of adult world stuff that comes into play that a young person isn't really fully equipped to deal with, and they can't just go through like if you're a kid just wanting attention, you act out in weird ways and do crazy little things as a kid,
I straight up
but you're not under the
burned,
spotlight.
and this was theater. I straight up burned paper towels one summer, way before even Stevens. I was like 12 or something like that. And I burned paper towels because I had a pyro phase. Like,
Yeah,
I had a
for sure.
fucking short-lived pyro phase. I'm not gonna lie, and and they almost wrote me up.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Like as an adult, like to my union. You know,
Yeah.
because they were like, "Well, what do we do? We have to make a report, and now maybe." This,
You know
what I'm saying?
Union, yeah.
Like, yeah, I mean, I think I've been written up when I was a kid. So it's just one of those things where you don't really get the grace unless you have a set like ours. Our set was,
Yeah. No, I
there was a
think-
lot of stuff going on, obviously, and not in a negative way, like just some stuff that I feel like Sean and David really, really tried to make a nice, inclusive,
Sure.
loving environment.
Safe
even
place for young
even
people.
Shia and I got pulled into Matt Dearborn's office for screwing around on set one too many
Oh,
times.
really? He was like,
Oh,
"You guys gotta knock it
Yeah,
off."
stop screwing around.
I didn't
so
know
much.
that.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad.
What was one of the
Honestly,
crazy
I don't
things you
even
did?
remember what
You guys
Shia
were
and I were
wild.
doing, but we were definitely screwing around.
They
a
were
lot.
wild.
Well,
Oh,
you know,
yeah.
but that's what's so like when I was in high school, I brought a bottle of wild turkey to school once, and like
Yeah.
pass the bottle under the stalls, like take a swig and give it to your buddy, and they take a swig, and like that happened like once in my life, right? And it was like interesting experimentation. It was like, what happens when you do this, right? Never went anywhere. But like what's the difference is when you're a kid just going through those normal kind of like self-discovery, seeking attention moments, you generally aren't on a TV show
You're
where
not-
everyone's watching your move, right?
Yeah.
Now put you
Well, because
on,
their job's online. Like, if you're gonna get sick and hungover the next day, like your job is on the line.
well, for sure, but I'm just saying, like, even if it's like if you're someone like a Shia LaBeouf or a Christy Romano that's a star on a show, and suddenly you're getting busted for drinking on the job.
Oh my god!
right?
And
or
no.
or drinking at school. Like
Dude,
the difference
very
is
different.
it's yeah. Well, but I'm saying, but it is different, but it's not. It's just a kid going through the same thing kids go through.
Sure.
But because of all that attention, it becomes something much bigger.
Yeah, yeah.
And
It
in some-
perverts it in
And
some
exactly,
way.
and in some ways, it might
Yeah.
even make a kid want to do more of it.
Oh shit! I never even
because it's
thought
like,
about that.
ooh,
And it
look how-
extenuates
like-
the stakes because it's
are you
how many-
freezing?
I am freezing.
Can we turn the air off?
Can we get this guy a coat?
AC off? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm afraid he's.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I didn't
Poor
want to.
guy's sitting here like shivering.
Sorry, yeah, AC's going. Oh.
This kid ain't got no meat on him.
What was I going to say? No, and it really heightens the circumstances too because what you got 300 people depending on an 8-year-old.
Well, for sure, I'm looking even outside of that space. You're right, though, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, everyone's depending on that kid to like not fuck up, which is a lot of pressure to begin with. But it's like I'll never forget, like first grade or even younger, Corey Enright. There's this one kid at my school. I wonder where Corey's at these days.
I could Google him.
You might not find the right one, but
Okay.
I need to find out. But Corey Enright
love doing
had
that.
he had this habit of freaking out and running out of the classroom. We're talking a young kid.
Did he have autism?
No, he just was, a very emotional kid and probably had some, whatever. Who knows what the home life was like? I have no idea. But he would take off and run out of the classroom and like literally run off the school grounds. Shit would shut down. It was like all hell broke loose. There's a kid running loose.
Oh God,
we got to go
yeah.
find this
Well,
kid.
yeah.
And we're talking like first grade. It was crazy. And young, impressionable little Nick was like, "Ooh, that's how you get some attention. That's how you control these adults. You do some crazy shit."
Right.
And they all stop. And they all stop to find you. And I'll never forget being impressed by that. It was an impressionable moment. And I used some of those tactics a couple of times in my life.
Interesting.
I made my principal cry once because I tried running out of the school. And my principal came chasing after me, Michelle Tucker.
Oh no.
And I was like, I'm going to make her cry. I'll never forget. I'm going to make her cry.
Wow.
And literally, she chased me. And all of a sudden, I heard her say, "Nick Spano, you stop right there." And I turned around and she was crying.
She's terrified.
That
I was
actually
like,
happened to me
"You
as a
kidding me?"
kid.
So imagine being on a show now
Oh God.
and having the whole world looking at you and seeing the attention you get for doing crazy shit.
Oh, it sounds
Yeah.
like someone.
And now you don't want to, and now you don't,
Sounds
and
like
now, yeah,
someone.
it becomes a power thing. It's or an attention thing or whatever it is. But anyway, watching these episodes and realizing you guys didn't even have the high school experiences that you are now kind of like portraying
Dude, no.
on
But
the show.
To be fair, it was like middle school. And then I think over time when I got Bobby Deaver as a boyfriend and stuff, I started like trying to pretend that I knew what it was like to have like the
Yeah,
normal.
but you didn't really
because,
have 'em.
No, because in real life, I went to professional children's school and they were
Yeah.
faxing me my stuff and I was having TAs in preparation
wild.
in preparation to go to like hopefully an Ivy League school. And it was like I was very much on this track. I do think that we talk about something really interesting here where it's like, where do you end and the world begins over time? And it's almost like you're at the behest of the writers. And we were lucky enough to have writers that actually pulled me in every season.
Yeah.
And did they do that to you guys
Oh,
too?
I would always hang out in the writer's room. I'd always hang out in
Smart. Make sure they wrote you in.
Pretty much. That's why I did
Yeah,
it.
that's what we were
Susie and
told.
Dennis Rinsler.
My mom even told me one time, oh, they hang out at the writer's room. You should do that too.
Yeah, Beans
I'm like, what the
is
fuck?
everyone's mascot.
Oh, I was always
That's-
hanging out
he was
with
everyone's
Dennis and
mascot.
Tom.
He was like the dude in the
Just
corner.
shooting the shit with Dennis and
Little
Tom
kid in the
all the
corner.
time.
Yeah.
Oh God.
Yeah.
I remember the first time Dennis looked at me. He goes, "By chance, do you like bacon?" I should have said no.
Oh, is that what?
Yeah. It was like the second episode I was in. He comes up to me. He's like, "Hey, Steven, just want to run something by you. Do you like bacon by chance?" I was
See,
like,
at least they asked you.
Yeah.
That's what I'm
At
saying.
least
It's like they didn't like
yeah.
force it down your throat.
Yeah.
They would pull us in and they would ask us, what's going on with you? Like, what is it like to, how many friends, what is it like being a girl? Like they really would. And then I remember with the new writers, they had the girls, they'd call them Susie and Sarah.
Yeah.
And they
yeah.
were awesome. And I
So
think they
great.
were there to capture the voice
Of
of
yeah.
me, basically. So I was very close with our female writers on our writers' room. And I mean, look, the family grew and grew up and grew in and grew out in all sorts of different
Yeah.
ways. But this episode was fun because we got to see Ren kind of like push to one of her limits with female friendship. But maybe they dialed it back because eventually she, in a couple episodes more, they gave her somebody else that was really the best kind of friend she could
Was
have.
it Lauren Frost?
Yes,
Yeah.
Lauren Frost
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
amazing. And then eventually Monique.
Yeah, Monique. I loved
Right?
Monique. Monique
It
was
was
great.
Monique.
Yeah.
I
Well,
had really good friends.
Well, do you recall her real
Kenya.
name? Kenya.
I mean, that's what it said online.
Yeah,
So
Monique was
Kenya.
Can you?
Yeah, she had the funniest accent too.
Yeah.
so.
It was awesome because she almost halfway had that accent, but then she totally put it on for the show.
She did,
Yeah.
but it worked some weird
Yeah.
way. So I'm looking
she
forward.
she had a little southern vibe, a little southern.
She put it
vibe
on
to
for
her.
sure.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Yeah.
liked her a lot.
Yeah.
I liked her a lot. Anyway, and then I'm trying to think towards the end of it what happened.
Well, I think
Oh,
a
the
lot of
80s
people-
party. Oh, sorry. We started this because Karen. So Karen was my makeup artist,
Oh, that's right. We're talking about that.
and Karen really acted almost like a big sister who told me way too much about my body and guys and anything I wanted to ask because I had to be sitting in that chair
Yeah.
for hours.
You were more than happy to ask.
Are you kidding me? I am obsessed with Karen
Yeah.
to this day. She taught me to do my makeup. She told me about like we're talking like, I mean, I didn't really have big sisters. They were 3,000 miles away.
Yeah.
So Karen and Robin McWilliams, who was my hairdresser at the time, they had teeny boppy, and it was the funnest place. And to this day, the makeup room is my haven on set. And it's a very anxious place for me to be on set. But the makeup room,
Yeah.
the makeup space, the makeup people
It's the
are my
decompressed
advocates.
space.
They were
Yeah.
my advocates, to be
Yeah.
perfectly honest. Like, they didn't ever go to bat for me because they're given very little say-so
Yeah.
on sets. But like them paired with like Meredith and Mimi, who was our wardrobe our main wardrobe person.
Yeah.
Really, like these were people who were with us, and me and my I got my first. Okay, guys, ready for this? I got my first thong on the set of Even Stevens because the pants that I had to wear were so see-through and sort of tight. So I had to start wearing that, and it wasn't a big deal, but I remember being like, oh my God, I'm wearing a thong. And it was like this whole thing. And Mimi was just like, it's fine. Just do it. Like, we're good. And then like the first time I got a boyfriend or something, and I was talking to Karen about, whatever in my life, she was always there for me. And it was every morning you'd go in and you'd have to get your makeup done and you'd be freaking exhausted, or later you'd be, hungover, or there'd be some drama in your life. And they would be the person to receive you, as at least a young girl.
Well, I feel like this is a give and take really with the acting industry because, these are relationships that normal people probably wouldn't have. But at the same time, we probably miss out on some relationships that they get, right?
That's true, man.
So I feel like this is definitely a,
No, it's
a give and take.
For sure.
it's one of the fill-ins though. You may not have this relationship with the teacher or with someone else in your life because they are still they are an older role model in some way for you, right?
Yeah.
They're definitely not a peer, but there's someone that's like big sister or whatever it is.
I mean, that dramaturg we had, what was his name? Not Jason. Jason was our AD. Who was the guy that was the dramaturg for Shia that ran his lines with him all the
Pat
time?
Jackson. Pat Jackson.
No, wait.
Oh,
No,
There
was
I know.
Pat.
I know.
The guy who had, he had the skin
Gosh, I know you're talking about. He was one of the acting coaches, right?
Yeah, he was
Yes,
an acting
yes.
coach.
And then I think he
What?
moved over to Raven.
One was
dang
Pat.
it.
One was Pat Jackson, but there
What's
was
his
another
name?
guy before him.
I see him. I
It's
see him.
not
I see him.
Jane.
I see him online all the time.
I love him so much. He was so
such
good
a great
for
guy.
him. Yeah.
Such a good dude.
So yeah, I mean, look, for me, I
man,
got
I'm so
dressed
bad.
up like I was in the 80s in this episode, and I just remember having so much fun with Karen and Robin because they lived through the 80s and they were like party girls from the 80s, okay? Party girls, those ladies. And I mean, it was just so fun to have them doll me up. And like I watched this episode and I remembered my interactions with them.
Yeah.
So
Aw.
I think we talked a lot today about community, and I think if that's the recurring theme to kind of sum up.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's also like that those high school moments, or even the moments of like education and learning that you guys portray so much in these episodes, but really learn in a very different way. So it's kind of weird how you kind of got that normal school experience in a
Right.
very
In a very sort of roundabout way.
abnormal way.
Yeah.
Abnormal way. Yeah.
That's good. I like the
Yeah,
way
it's
to think about
interesting.
that.
Yeah.
Well, I am hungry and our lunch is here.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
guys, please go ahead and check out our next episode and subscribe and follow and do all the fun things for us. We are having a blast at this podcast. So,
So much fun.
please.
Booyah! Until next time, peace.
Bye, guys.
Thanks so much for watching this episode of the Even More Stevens podcast. For clips from our pod, go ahead and check out the Podco YouTube channel. And for exclusive weekly bonus content, join our Patreon. Links in the description.